LGBT sex education in America. Why do we need it? Who does it benefit the most? And most importantly, what does it mean for our queer community's future? Every day, queer people are dying from preventable diseases, and this is coming from years and years of lack of sexual education in schools. America needs a comprehensive and inclusive sex education to teach to not just our queer youth, but to all communities in schools. Now, this is a tough but necessary conversation. That's the way that sex education has always been. But the point of it is to teach students to have healthy sexual relationships in their future. We need to allow that exact same idea to be presented to our queer students as well. Where do we even begin though? Where do we start? Well, we're going to start with the most at risk, and that's going to be gay and bisexual men. Here we have a quote from stdcheck.com saying that it was reported that gay and bisexual men account for the majority of those cases of syphilis. That's nearly 75% of cases, specifically going to gay and bisexual men. Over here we can see the CDC says that the reason for this is going to be homophobia, stigmas, discrimination, and how it can negatively affect and influence the health of gay and bisexual men. That means that homophobia is not just affecting LGBT mental health, but it is also affecting the physical health of this community. Homophobia and misinformation are leading to lack of safety measures, precautions, and access. And this is going to lead us to needing community awareness. That means that we are normalizing gay relationships in order to better teach and help queer students. Now, where did this all start and why do we need a change for it? We are going to take it back to traditional sex education. There we are. Traditional sex education has always been taught as one type of sex. Now, here we have a pretty long quote that I'm going to paraphrase, but it essentially goes over the fact that over the years, there has only been a focus on vaginal sex, leaving anal, oral, and every other type of sex act completely out of the conversation, and leading students to believe that because they aren't taught as the main type, that they're not considered an actual sex. Because this conversation has been left out, there have been very little precautions and safety measures taken to teach these students how to properly and safely have these types of sex. And if you know anything about the community, the queer community that is, these are sexual acts that take place more often than your traditional. Thus, when a queer student is in class learning about these types of sexual acts, they're not getting the right information and they're not finding out real ways to keep themselves safe. There needs to be different type of acts taught to students in order to show how dangerous these acts can be without the right type of protections. Now, additionally, the CDC also says that there's more to queer sex education than just the acts. It's also going to teach them to develop healthy attitudes concerning their growth, their development, their image, gender, sexual orientation, relationships, marriage, and even family. So what can we do for these queer youth? How can we make this happen? California's already been on top of it. In January of 2016, they created and passed the California Healthy Youth Act. This act has a comprehensive and inclusive sex education for all students, and it doesn't just go over your basics and traditional acts. It also talks about gender, it talks about identity, and it also talks about HIV prevention, which is a topic that previously was not approached at all. This is so much more than sexual acts and the act of having sex. It goes on to explain gender expression and identity, which is going to help our transgender youth who need it the most. So what does this look like? What does a world with a comprehensive and inclusive sex education look like across America? It's going to have an understanding amongst our country that will allow our LGBT community to be a part of. It's going to create a safe and aware future for all students alike. Are we ready for this though? Are we ready for a federally funded and federally regulated sex education that goes across the board to allow a safe and healthy future for not just our queer youth, but for all youth? How can we do this? Well, I'm calling to you. If you are in a state where this bill is being offered, vote on it. Go to these meetings and vote for a comprehensive education that is going to protect our community and all communities alike.